better as a result of social media presence.
If it doesn't do those three things, then it's on the chopping block.
It's a return on investment discussion.
Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of the Daily Dealer Live. I'm your host, Sam Darkin. Joining me today is the Yuli DiMartino. Welcome
What's
back,
up?
Yuli.
What's up?
Yuli, today I'm
here.
back in the United States after, as you know, I spoke to a group of Lexus dealers in Canada. Cool experience. I can't say enough good about it and our friends up north. But I'll tell you what, getting back into the U.S., have you ever actually traveled abroad and come back? It was much harder getting in than getting out. It's not easy. So,
No.
but I made it back. I'll bring some of the commentary I got from that group into today's show. And Yuli, check out what we have coming up today. We've got Dave Thomas on Japan tariffs, a little bit of tariff talk. We've got Dennis Gingrich on a tech stack shuffle, and we've got Safford Brown here to talk F&I. So, but before we go there, let's dive into today's automotive headlines. So today we start news this Friday with a sinkhole sale. I love this. Grant Cardone was on the show many weeks ago, and he talked about how in every tragedy in automotive, it's great to capitalize, and we do well at that. Well, this dealer at Altoona Courtesy Kia on July 16th did just that. A sinkhole opened beneath 4 parked Kia Sportages in Altoona, Pennsylvania. The collapse caused by heavy rain didn't cause injuries or major damage, but it did spark a fast-moving promotional idea. The very next day, the store launched a sinkhole sale. Yes, offering $1,000 off and up to $1,250 in rebates. By the way, is that enough? If your car that you're looking to purchase slid into a sinkhole, I'm not sure that's enough. Joking on Facebook that, quote, these offers are going down fast, just like our pavement, close quote. A classic example of how dealers can move quickly to turn unexpected events into engagement. And then obviously the puns from competitors are a little underwater over there, underground, you know, they're in the basement.
Pretty clever.
I mean, that's super clever. I have a question though. I don't like, how do you fix a sinkhole? If there's a sinkhole, what do you do to fix that?
Oh, it's a mess. They did that on the Parkway over here in New Jersey. They shut down the Parkway. They have to dig out way more than you would imagine. It's crazy.
So they dig it out and then they put it back. I mean, is that how it goes?
They got to repack it. I mean, I don't know. It's millions of dollars.
Huh. And then like, if you're standing on that spot in the future, could you potentially go under again or no? Is it one and done? I'm fascinated by this. To our audience out there, as always, we've got all the commentary. We're streaming across all CDG platforms. I forgot that part, Yuli. How did I do that? Make sure you comment on today's show. Tyler LeBlanc, thanks for the props. The absolute best automotive content out there anywhere. Thanks for giving us those props. But join the show today. And if you know anything about backfilling a sinkhole, would be super curious logistically how that happens. I guess I could ask ChatGPT after today's show is over. But next up today, automakers are starting to feel the full weight of U.S. auto tariffs, and it's showing up in their bottom lines. Volkswagen said it took a $1.5 billion hit from tariffs in the first half of the year and slashed its full year guidance as a result. Meanwhile, Hyundai also felt the pain. You can see it on this graph with tariffs cutting $606 million out of its Q2 profits. That's over $500 million. The company hasn't raised prices in the U.S., but it admits it can't keep absorbing these costs forever. General Motors also took a $1.1 billion tariff hit last quarter, and Stellantis expects a, get this, $2.68 billion net loss for the first half of 25 as a result of tariffs and restructuring costs. It might be a little heavy on the and what follows that. Big picture here, well, tariffs are hitting the balance sheets, and automakers are scrambling to protect margins, shift production, and secure deals before the pressure ramps up even more. We talk more about this, but our first guest up today is going to walk us down that road with his take and opinion on tariffs. Finally up today, this is fascinating. Honda just launched Honda Insurance Solutions, a new quote and buy platform that lets customers shop for auto, home, and renters, even pet insurance. I never thought I would see the intersection of auto and pet in a car dealership all in one place. It's powered by VIU by Hub, a global insurance giant, meaning Honda isn't underwriting the policies. It's branding the experience while third-party carriers handle the coverage. The platform works fully online and offers perks like OEM parts coverage if available, quote comparisons and bundling, but it's not yet tied into vehicle checkout, F&I menus, or dealer incentives. And Honda says the goal is long-term connection, keeping customers in the ecosystem post-sale and creating more touch points for future purchases, even without dealership involvement. But Honda isn't the first to try this out historically. It's been tough to pull off. So my background, we'll bring Dennis Gingrich on a little bit. We worked for a global insurance company, Swiss-based Zurich. They tried that with farmers. We know Allstate's done a little bit of that, having people in dealership. Challenging proposition all the way around. Darwin, I think, tried something, may still be there. We may need Phil Batista to come on the show. And CDK even ventured into it for a short period. Right now, I know Autocomplete is a solution on the insurance side, but super interesting, Yuli. Have you ever tried selling insurance in dealership?
I mean, just the insurance we sell in the dealerships, not automotive insurance. But, it goes back to the point of just keeping the customer in the ecosystem. I think the people that have failed prior to this were trying to actually create an insurance company, which is incredibly difficult, right? But if you just want a way to own the customer information for a little bit longer, I mean, Honda can do it.
All right. Well, coming up, we're going to talk to Dennis, and we're also going to turn far east to a finance director out there. We want some feedback on, is this a good idea? Who does it benefit? The OEM, the dealership, the customer? Going to social media, Christopher Bragg, good morning and happy Friday from San Diego. Happy Friday to you. And Cody Martin says, loves this show. Good morning is a reference to the time zone differences, Yuli, between East Coast where we are and West Coast where they are. And whatever coast you're on, whatever your time zone, we're just super grateful and excited that you are here. So let's dive into it. Let's go to Tariff Talk. First up today, our guest, Dave Thomas. He is Director of Content Marketing at CDK Global. Dave Thomas, welcome.
Great. Thanks for being here.
Well, so Dave, I think we all know CDK, but tell us a little bit about, before we dive into today's topic, yourself and what you do at CDK.
Sure. I'm the Director of Content Marketing here. So my job is to take all the terrific research our teams here do and create content that is specifically for dealers. So I've been in the industry for about 20 years and I've worked in content. Much of that time, I was managing editor of cars.com for 10 years and was there when they launched the American Made Index, which is kind of about our topic here today. And then went agency side and worked with major OEMs for a number of years as well.
So you have an opinion on tariffs. You emailed Yossi. He shared it with us. You've posted on LinkedIn, and you've gotten quite a bit of comment and feedback on it. You called, in particular, the event this week, the U.S. deal with Japan, you called it, quote, a seismic event. And you said, never thought I'd see the day. Tell us a little bit about this seismic event and your take on the Japanese deal on tariffs.
Well, there's clearly been tariff talk. As we know, this administration, and it's kind of been, how should we say, uncertain. Lots of different numbers being thrown and changed from the administration pretty frequently.
Yeah.
So when deals are actually solidified like this one, and it happened with the UK a few months ago, but the UK sends, like 100,000 vehicles here. Japan's much different. It's the number 2 importer of vehicles to this country outside of Mexico. And obviously these automakers that are based there have a huge footprint in the US. So inking this deal, we're assuming that there is ink drying on this deal at 15%, that is putting a really solid number on what the future is going to be like and just has massive ramifications.
So do you believe the number?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I think so.
Why? Because we have seen some of these getting walked back. What makes this one stick?
Well, I do believe that the response is from the automakers themselves and the Japanese government. These are organizations that are probably the most conservative you could imagine. So if they're kind of putting it down and saying this is real, that's more of my belief of why it's real and happening. Yeah.
So is this the moment that the global auto trade map gets redrawn? And if so, how? What are the implications to trade between U.S. and Japan and the inflow of vehicles here and the travel of U.S. vehicles to Japan?
So in some ways, I don't think much is going to change. There will still be the same products on lots. The change is going to come to the cost and to the consumer. The automakers have already started shifting production plans, how much is going to be built in Japan versus what they have here. If they're lucky enough to have manufacturing here, it does. Some automakers have a much better footprint here than others. So there are some concerns for certain OEMs. How do they exist? How do they continue with such a heavy burden if they don't? So that's one thing. But yeah, you're going to see those production shifts. You've seen lots of discussions of what types of vehicles they can shift here based on what they have. I've seen very little about building new factories. It's much more about utilizing capacity that's underutilized. But in the end, it's going to cost more, and that is just the end game of it. So to me, the big impact here is when we talk about inflation. We talk about the cost of cars. Affordability is a top concern. All dealers know this. They're going to get more expensive.
So to the consumer and to the dealer, in the next 3 months and then in the next 12 months, how does it change a Toyota or a Honda dealership when you walk on that lot 12 months from now? What do I see different in terms of price and availability?
I think it's going to be sneaky. Sam, the prices aren't going to be, in some ways, you might not notice them, but they're going to be $50 here to $100 here to $500 there. And on the most expensive trim levels, you're talking thousands, right? So some of the vehicles, you take a Toyota 4Runner, it starts at $45. Those things can get up to $70,000. So those top end trims, they'll always see the biggest increase because you think those buyers can take that hit, and they'll try and keep the base models and that starting price as low as they possibly can. And then the thing that people won't know, and why I say it's sneaky, is there are a few significant new models coming with Japanese footprints, namely the Toyota RAV4 and the Subaru Outback.
Hybrids, or the RAV4 is hybrid anyway, right?
And they haven't put prices because they're all new. They're going to go on sale in the next year or so, or the next coming months in the next year. So what those starting prices, we won't know how much they would have been, but that'll be a way where that starting price when they announce it will be higher than they were planning, I'm sure, originally. So yeah, it's gonna be one of those things where it's just these little percentage points that keep ratcheting up. But when you think of someone's financials and their monthly, budget at home, everything, beef is at a record high. There's certain things that all these little things keep ratcheting up, and a car is not a little thing, but a little thing on an expensive product like a car will add to that budget.
You made some predictions about niche model vehicles like the Toyota GR86, the Subaru BRZ, and the Nissan Z. Tell us about that prediction and what advice you would have to anyone interested in any one of those three models.
Yeah, so this has been talked about since the tariffs were kind of introduced or floated around, and they're actually talking about most concern was on the affordable models in Mexico not being able to be made affordably anymore.
Yeah,
which would have the biggest impact on consumers. Now these cars are very niche model, these are hundreds of sales a month, not thousands. They also don't make big margins. So they are there to serve enthusiasts, to keep them in the brand, to keep people happy, to whether it's a Mazda Miata or a Nissan Z or a WRX from Subaru, these are inherent DNA type vehicles to the brand. And these brands make money not on these vehicles. So it's going to be a big discussion. I know that the last Nissan Z, the new one that's out, that was a labor of love at that company to get that thing done. And then the question is just going to be how much labor of love will all these companies keep doing if it's going to hurt them financially. So I would hazard a guess that almost all of them towards the end of their cycle won't be coming back to the U.S. if these tariffs stay in place. And there is hope that, Toyota put out a statement. There is hope that they're going to keep negotiating this tariff down, that this is 15%, and hopefully they can ratchet it down.
Yeah, and it's interesting. So you shared that statement, and it does imply in the statement, Toyota respects the tremendous efforts of the officials from both the U.S. and Japan led to this deal, appreciating that despite the wide range of items on the negotiating table, consensus was reached that includes the automotive sector. And there's an implied Toyota hopes the environment surrounding the automotive industries of both Japan and the U.S. continue to improve. There's an implication that it could be negotiated down. So how did the OEMs see this coming, or did it catch them flat-footed, this particular deal? Because not everybody's happy, is your point. Toyota has their take, but the big three here in the U.S. are not happy with this deal.
Oh, I'm sure I'm not sure, but I would imagine the Japanese automakers were well aware of what was going on and the influence they have on that government. I'm sure the other automakers were taken by surprise, and no, they don't seem very happy because these tariff rates on Mexico and Canada, where there's so much involvement in the North American footprint, negotiated in the USMCA by this previous Trump administration. I think they feel slighted, because they have even a bigger footprint than Japan. Why weren't they taken care of first, for example? I'm sure that all those things are swirling. It makes sense to me. I would be pretty ticked as well. So the question, though, if we saw the UK get 10% and we see Japan get 15%, how would you then negotiate tariffs on the vehicles that impact these domestic brands, Ford, GM, and Stellantis? How would you make it higher than that? How would you say you should pay more than these other countries? That's going to be interesting. I mean, so they kind of handed the negotiating tactic to those automakers, right? It's going to be very hard to sell that to American people. And then the other big import I did want to mention is, South Korea is right behind Japan in terms of imports to this country. And they're going to be looking for the same thing. So I mentioned on a podcast with Yossi last month, when the UK did it, was 10% the magic number. Now the magic number is 15%. And so we're going to see if these other countries get 15% as well, or if it's something different.
Yeah, it's fascinating. So if you were to advise Trump on the final negotiations with the big three here in the U.S., how would you advise him to approach it? What's a win?
Oh, that's just had that mental picture in my head, and it's a little jarring. I would, if you're going to go the tariff route, it better be 15% or less, right? It's you set the number with Japan, and I just can't see how it couldn't be that number or less.
Yeah.
Hey, I don't think I heard you mention it, but I mean, something pretty significant regarding the tariffs and the 15% to Japan. I mean, didn't they pledge over $500 billion to developing the industry here?
Yes. I take pledges like that as, I don't know, those
pandering,
they're
political
ephemeral.
Pandering.
I've lived through a number of, especially with the EV stuff, a number of pledges on billions of dollars of investments. And do they really come to the reality is a different thing. That said, Yuli, it is a good point. There will be more investment in manufacturing in the U.S. because of the tariffs. And honestly, I wrote about this a while ago, that the U.S. really is the last big car market in the world that these companies will have access to. China is gone. So the U.S. is there. So even if there weren't tariffs, I think you'd see more investment anyway, but this is going to accelerate it.
Sure.
And funny enough, the EV incentives to get automakers to build here for EVs, that actually gives those companies an advantage because they already started building a footprint here for EVs. So it's interesting how it all works.
So you referenced the possibility that a future administration, even a Democratic one, I'm not sure what this guess is based on, but might leave tariffs in place. Does that mean that tariffs are now the new norm? And what's your basis for that hypothesis?
Yeah, so this kind of went, you can look at, there's one clear example of this happening. It's a little more of an outlier, but the previous Trump administration put a tariff on China for automobiles and a number of other things. Biden administration came in, it did not lift those tariffs. It did not change them one bit. And so my thinking is, we put these in place, the consumer gets used to paying more money for cars. and, it just becomes one of those things. We all hate it, but we get used to it. Time goes on. If another administration comes in, it's a different political team, right? It's the Democrats come in, let's say. Do they change it? Is it the first thing they do? Is it something they put down, in the second year? I don't know. I mean, it'll be an interesting thing to do. However, it would also be a very easy thing to say, we're going to help consumer prices, and it's an easy thing to rip away.
Yeah, it's a way to pander very quickly and give the economy a little bit of a boost. Yeah, so let's actually turn this conversation to the dealer. So we're sitting in a dealership, July of 2025. This news has just come out. How do you capitalize on this news in this moment, knowing that those vehicles are going to go up in price? I mean, that's probably an easy answer. What's the short and long-term advice you would give to dealers today?
The short term is doing what they were doing when the tariffs were initially announced, and say, get this in inventory before the tariffs go into effect, which is August 1, I believe. Now it's for cars coming in. So all that, they're on trucks already. All that stuff's pre-tariff. But you're going to say right now, come buy this whatever before the tariffs go in place. Now, will every consumer know which model is which, made where? That's obviously, you got to do a little investigation, but I swear it was the craziest coincidence. We had a family friend ask about advice on buying a Toyota 4Runner, and they do it. This is before this happened. This is like the day before this happened. Should he buy it now or wait later, and maybe there'll be some more incentives? And so people know. I mean, people out there, car shoppers, understand this is a real thing, and dealers rightly should make sure to announce it, right? Like, say, if you want a 4Runner, now 4Runner is a really popular car, so you're not going to get a good deal, but you're not going to get a good deal in December either, and that's when you might see a tariff hit. So in the short term, and then dealers have when people come in and they talk about affordability, dealers now have a thing to say is, this is not their fault. Right? This is if you think of 4Runner, we're just going to keep using that example. You're trading in your last gen for the new gen, and you can't believe how much more expensive it is, as all happens to all vehicles. This is one more thing that a dealer can say, hey, this is the way of the world right now. And these cars are expensive.
So before we go to the USMCA and the fact that Mexico and Canada are still sitting at 25%, it is fascinating. We've talked about payment affordability and vehicle affordability in automotive for a long time. And, I was at a deal with Cliff Banks, who does the Banks report, and he made a comment, and this was 6-9 months ago. He's like, you know what? Everybody's been predicting that buyers would just fall away, and they just haven't yet. They've been very resilient to the payment affordability issue. Do you foresee on this news that hitting it in some way, or like how should a dealer make sense of the payment affordability challenge in July of 2025?
Yeah, that's a really good point. It comes to the question of how much can they take.
You're right.
And then it's just the law of averages of how many people can afford to take the larger hits. So I think it's also, we get used to that price. We go into the grocery store and we see the eggs and we freak out. We get used to it. Maybe we change some habits, what have you. But this purchase happens infrequently, a car purchase. It's the largest. It used to be the second. I make this joke. It used to be the second largest purchase people make, but no one's buying houses right now. This is the largest purchase anyone makes right now. So if it's 30,000 versus 31, is that going to really stop someone if they need that vehicle? What's happening, I think, is we're sticking to more people who need the vehicle versus, I want to go trade it in now. I really like that new version. I got a year left. It'll cost me a little bit more. I don't think that's happening as much. And so my guess is Cliff is partially right, but I think there are way more people on the sidelines right now, and that if there was any alleviation of affordability, it would be much higher sales year to year. I said to Yossi as well last month, I think we could get to 17 million sales. Get these interest rates in check, get the prices down, get the price of car insurance down. I don't know why. That's one thing I think this industry could really fight on. I think it's up 30% over. I mean, it's insane. And there's certain way, I still don't understand how that's so high. So there are affordability issues out there, and again, dealer can't change any of those things.
No.
But yeah, I think it's showing the value of these vehicles. Anyone coming in for a new car and they're trading their 5-year-old car, those 5 years is a long time in the advancement of a new vehicle and what's in that cockpit, right? Like it is just a much more advanced car every generation. And so just the dealers need to explain that, like all this technology they have, transmissions are better, all those things. So that's one thing that the dealers could definitely focus on.
So as it relates to payment affordability, it does occur to me, like interest rates, to your point, that's the last big lever. If the tariffs are in play and they're fixed and, there's a few more deals to get worked out, but if it sticks, interest rates are that last big lever. And it does seem like the administration's doing some things to try to push for that, right? So Powell and others are under fire, if not done. Do you project interest rates heading south anytime soon in the near term based on your read of the market?
Well, most of the Fed groups have said that it will, a couple of basis points or whatever, and then by the end of the year. So instead of, I forget if it's 4.25 now or whatever it is, that it goes to 3.75. Yeah, so it'll go down. I think it'll go down, whether the Trump pressure or not. I think it'll go down. The cascade effect into what's happening to the dealers and the type of interest rates that'll be offered, hopefully we see some outsized impact, that you see more of those 0% happening. I think automakers, when they look at the incentive mix, they're cutting back on incentives right now. But I think in the incentive mix, I think they're going to keep focusing on the interest rate type of incentive and keep trying to get as close to zero as they possibly can, because they know that is the number one concern of car shoppers.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, fascinating topic, especially as these things become crystallized. Dave Thomas, Director of Content Marketing at CDK Global. Absolutely appreciate you being on the show, sharing your perspectives. And, it's interesting to see as these things start to unfold and become more permanent, how it ends. Oh, wait, the USMCA. So Canada, Mexico, we're at 25%. What do you make of that? What predictions would you have? Good take on Japan. How do we do the rest of this?
Yeah. To me, the USMCA was, I thought, the easiest one, because it was up for renegotiation next year. So why would you just renegotiate it this year? Yeah. Again, it is from the previous Trump administration. It's their deal. So I thought that could have been done right away and just said, let's, get this out of the way and move on. For it to flounder like this is really surprising. And if it's not the next one tackled, it certainly should be. The companies are able to shift the production between the OEMs are able to shift the production between the three countries a little bit right now to help lessen the blow. But again, and this goes to affordability, the USMCA makes affordable cars possible in the USA. They're built in Mexico.
Yeah.
And by putting that kind of onus on that, it will be a huge, if it remains at something like 25%, it will be very hard to make those affordable cars come into this country anymore. And that to me is just
that's the shift. It's a global shift.
It's a sad one, right? Because you can get someone at a new car dealer into something really good. I mean, again, technology's advanced. You get into these cars, these affordable cars, they are a very good car. And someone can get a new car for around $20,000. And if that disappears, it's going to be really sad for the industry in a way.
Yeah.
So
the
hope is, yes, let's get this renegotiated. Let's not have it at 25% for sure, and allow those cars to still come into this country.
So that's what you would say if you were sitting in front of the president in that room where the decisions are made, where the room where it happens, as the Hamilton play says. Sure. So Dave Thomas, Director of CDK Content Marketing, thanks for joining the show today and for sharing your perspectives. Appreciate having you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks, Dave.
Ton of fascinating comments online. Just a lot of different things out here. VinFast, a bunch of comments from Ariel and others on VinFast and how Vietnam, the tariff deal was put together with them first. A little bit of comments. Chevy already has 0%. Mobileye, will market premium come back? Hello from Wisconsin. We just got Geo from Wisconsin. Ton of commentary online. So everybody watching, thanks for being here, and continue to post, because our next guest is always fun to talk to. Mr. Dennis Gingrich, Sales and Finance Director at the Niello Company. We're going to talk about some crazy things going on at Niello today. Dennis Gingrich, welcome to the show.
Hey, good to see you, Sam. Good to see you, Yuli.
It's good to see you as well. Thanks for joining the show. So let's just jump into it because our viewers know you. You've been on the show in the past. You made a big operational change this past month, and I don't necessarily want to focus. You went from one company to the next, so we're not going to share companies. We're not out advertising this, that, whatever. But in your operations role in the middle of the summer, you decided to upend the apple cart and make a big operational change. Tell us what you did and why.
Well, why? It was, we want to deliver a great customer experience like every other dealership, and we had a great tool, a great partner, and there were just some things that didn't align with the way I feel that our team can best deliver on that.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like a couple weeks, it wasn't a couple months. This was something that stemmed back all the way to NADA in Dallas, asking for some things and why. And I knew there were other dealers that wanted the same thing that I was trying to accomplish. And it never came to fruition. And because I don't think anybody wakes up in the morning and says, God, I really want to change over my CRM today. Nobody says that.
Nobody does. In fact, everybody's terrified of that. That's one of the leverages that CRM providers have, is they know it's tough to make a change, right?
It's definitely tough. But, finally, after, listening to our team, down from the salespeople to the sales managers, and just really taking all the feedback and, about some of the things that I expected out of the team and some of their challenges, it just became clear that, a move was in the best interest of the Niello Company to deliver that experience.
Okay, before I go to a Tully Williams comment, and yes, Tully, fixed ops director at Niello Auto Group, has made his way into this show. This is always fun, so we'll go there in just a minute. So what capability were you looking for in a CRM, without saying names, in today's market, July of 2025, that you weren't getting in that moment that you felt like you needed to be able to deliver that better experience?
For me, the initial ask is when my salesperson called Yuli and Yuli can't answer, and he just says, I'll call you back later with that auto reply. I wanted Yuli to text and call the same number. I didn't want my customers to see me call from one number and text to another. I think it's a terrible user experience. And I want all of that phone call and text communication to be easily visible, not only for the customer, but for our sales professionals. And I knew it was in the market, and I asked, and I was like, that was the hill I ultimately
died on.
And I think we're living through it. So I know I'm not going to die. Nobody at the Niello Company is going to die. And, we're about 3 weeks into this transition, and nobody's died, and we're getting some great results.
So before we go into that, though, how much of this challenge is created by all the different disparate systems? Like, it is crazy in automotive today. We have all these different logins. There's all these different APIs that help different systems communicate with each other. Like, I love the quote from some comedy show. We put a man on the moon, and we can't even call a customer back on the same phone number with technology. Like, technology has solved so many things, but it's also created problems when these things don't talk together, Dennis, right?
Yeah, it's a huge problem. I think, broadly speaking, and I would say this about myself to a large extent. As a salesperson, I'm not a tech wizard, right? And I don't want our salespeople to be tech wizard. Everything, the way technology is, should be intuitive, easy to find, and really be able to put everything that's important in front of you at the right time, so you can do what you're paid to do, and that is sell, provide a customer experience, answer questions, and ultimately get the consumer what they're after. And that's just a new car at an affordable price and a smile on their face. And when they don't talk, it really hinders our salespeople ability to focus on the thing. And the thing is the customer. And when they're bouncing between 47 different tabs on the top of their computer, and they got to do multi-factor authentication across, those tabs, it's like, how much time am I wasting going here and there, logging in, logging out? And I just want them to be able to do the thing from one place, because I know it translates to a better experience for the customer.
All right. So you made your mind up sometime after NADA and before now. What were your steps in making this big change? You have how many stores? How many stores do you have, first off?
We have 10 rooftops.
So you have 10 stores. You're making this CRM change across all 10 all at once, right? What were the steps to implementation and training to ensure a great rollout that maybe a lot of people don't recognize or see who aren't in this operations role you're in?
Well, first of all, a lot of demos with a few different companies. Like, I feel bad for our sales representatives because we have a ton of demos and probably asked a lot of the same questions over and over again. And not just with myself and the people I partner closest with, Kristen Long. I mean, that woman deserves a medal. She's done a great job.
Props to her. We love her.
100%. Yeah. But going through, and not only just that, but having our sales managers, our salespeople, our general managers sit in on the demos and ask questions and really go through it. I think that's key. If you're going to make any change to your tech stack, you got to bring the end user involved in it to make a good decision. Because if everybody at the store revolts and this doesn't go well, that's not good. It doesn't feel good personally. It's not good, right? Or professionally, for that matter. I need the buy-in from the guys and gals that actually make it happen.
Yeah. By the way, people don't realize in an operations role, if everybody revolts, you lose your ability to do anything and get anything done and or enact any type of change now and into the future. So Tully Williams says fixed ops got their back. Tully, by the way, threw some other stuff out earlier. What did he say earlier in the stream? We are in the repeat and referral business. True story. And the Niello company started fixed, but they're evolving variables. So we appreciate that comment. So Dennis, sometimes because of my background and your background in the insurance world, I'll get the comment, hey, you must go easier on vendors. The reality is I actually go harder on vendors. Talk a little bit about that. I expect more because I've been in that role, right? And I expect that they meet that standard and beyond, not easier.
Well, I think you're right. When it comes to our vendor relationships, we're very selective and we go slow, specifically if we're going to make a change. But, Sam, I know you know this. I know it, Yuli. I know you know it. But if a vendor does not provide a great install and partner, the chances of success diminish greatly. And, at the end of the day, does the vendor have some skin in the game? Sure. But I think for something like a CRM change, the implication of a poor rollout, a poor install, you'll suffer for months. And then if you change and then you go back, dude, that is just a massive time suck, and it's not something that can be done. So, some of the things that have been very, very important is really getting into the weeds with the implementation team. When I'm talking to a salesperson at whatever vendor, I want a member of the actual support team, the person that's actually going to be working with us on a day-to-day basis, because as salespeople, we sometimes have a tendency to tell people what they want to hear, and it's not always rooted in truth, not maybe on purpose, but at the end of the day, I really need to know what's in the sausage when we get going, because there's always going to be surprises, but I want them to be minimal and manageable.
And actually, Dennis, so I've told many partners that we've done installs with, I actually want to know the worst parts of you before anybody else finds it out. Because I want to understand the biggest shortcoming, the biggest failure before it gets to anybody else, so that I can decide, hey, is this something that's doable? And I can prep everybody for it too, right? And yet in the vendor world, sometimes, not all, there are great vendors out there. No shade to anybody. Sometimes you try to sell past all those faults and not even have them come to light. And that actually hurts your install overall, I would say.
I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, there is no such thing as the perfect tool. Everything has its shortcomings, and just lean into it. No, it is what it is. It doesn't do blank. And that might not necessarily be a problem. Don't assume it's going to be a problem for me in our team. I just want to know what it is, to your point. And I think the other really important thing that we do here at the Niello company, when we're talking to a vendor partner, or maybe we're getting a new performance manager, I am very clear, and I'm going to quote myself, appropriate or not. We are needy bitches at the Niello company. If I'm going to pay blank for a tool, I want to use that tool to its utmost capacity. I want to be able to leverage everything I can get out of it. And if you don't have a person that is willing to invest the time and energy to help me perfect the tool that you sold me, ultimately that's going to be a problem. And I understand not everything is going to work perfect out of the box, but I really need, like, when I need help, I need help.
Tully Williams agrees with you. He says, yes, you are a needy bitch. So
Dennis,
he doesn't include himself on that picture.
So Dennis, what are you saying to your guys right now that are not adopting this technology so open, with arms so open?
You know, it's interesting. I'm here at our Audi store, Niello Audi. We're actually the oldest Audi dealership in the country. And, you know, we had a sales meeting here this morning, and, you know, we have some holdouts, some people that have been using our prior CRM for a long time, and old habits, as you know, die hard regardless of industry. But, you know, when we make a change, we do it to make it better. And, you know, it's, I need you guys, you know, do the training. There is online training. Please do it ahead of time, even before the live training. I want you to do it ahead of time, because you're going to be better equipped to ask better questions when you have a live person, and you're going to get more out of it. And then when you have, this drives me crazy. I can feel I'm getting red. Like, when we have an online training or a webinar, can you turn your camera on? Because I know when your camera is on, this is what you're doing. You're not paying attention, and you've got to, you just have to invest the time. It's part of your career. You won't be successful. And you just have to train your eyes to look in different places. And one of the biggest thing that I think is a good takeaway, click some shit in the website. You're not going to break it. Like, click it and read.
You might not break it.
No, I have the settings so you can't break it. I did that on purpose. Click around and learn, you know. And I just think that is super important for everybody to do, is, like, don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to engage. Don't be afraid to click. And, you know, don't be afraid to ask for help, because you've got to give anything, you know, a solid, really 2 weeks of commitment. Hey, you know what? I'm going to let go everything that I've known before on this previous platform, and I'm just going to burn the boats, and I'm going to go hard for 2 weeks, and I'm going to see where it takes me. Because at the end of the day, if it doesn't take the Niello company where we want it to go, that's on me. That's on me. That's not on my guys. But I really need a good 2 weeks of real raw engagement and owning it.
So a couple concepts here. And again, this is kind of a masterclass for vendors here. So everybody listen up, because I kind of go through this. This is my little spiel word track with our vendors before we ever engage at a high level. You could have a great tool, but you could have horrible people, horrible delivery, horrible explanation. And it doesn't matter if you have a great tool. It's like, if a tree falls in the forest, nobody's around to hear it. Does it matter if it falls? Can anybody hear it if it falls? It doesn't matter, right? If you suck at implementation, it doesn't matter if you have a great tool. Talk to us about that. And then, talk to us about that.
Yeah, that is really a great question. Our owner, Rick Niello, you know, we've been in business for over 100 years. He's a prince of a man. And, you know, he says this, and he says, we're not in the car business, we're in the people business. And that's true to the vendor. And to your point, if the tool's great, and you got, you can't do epic shit with basic people. There's a hat I saw on Instagram. I need to order it. But from a people standpoint, you got to have people that on the vendor end that truly care about my success. Right?
Yes.
And you need to, and no different than I'm telling our salespeople, you need to invest in really becoming a master with the tool. And even more so, if you're a vendor, if you don't know all the ins and outs about the widget you're selling your customer, you need to do the work to be able to be that. And if you don't know everything, you have somebody on your team that does. Get them to the table. And if it's in, this drives me crazy, if there's some engineer in a background, like, do not be afraid to get out and engage with your customer, because like the stickiness of your tool, quite frankly, it depends on it. And if you give me a good experience, right? Now, if I give my customer a great experience and they walk away as a fan of Niello Audi, I'm going to get more customers. It's not any different for what you're doing. So you need to invest the time to become a subject matter expert with your tool. Don't tell me what I want to hear. Tell me my baby's ugly, it's ugly. Just tell me.
Yeah.
You just need to know I need the truth. I can handle it.
So Dennis, you've coined a new phrase and it's now in the banner below. Quote, you can't do epic shit with basic people. And this is a fact. Your friend Tully Williams says, are they partners or vendors? He says, we want partners. I would argue that you reach a stage, you start vendor and you earn and work your way up to partner. Not everybody survives that ascent. Tully, you may give that out easily and fixed, but in variable, that's a title hard earned, is it not, Dennis? So
yeah, it's definitely a tough title earn. But once you earn it, right? Once you earn it, you're in. And I mean, the switch we made, like it was great. The great people loved all the people, right? And it was just, and if they weren't great people, the conversations would not have happened. So, hey, I need X,
So we got to jump because we want to hear you again in the future. We want to bring you back. Tell us the name of the company you went to. This is not an advertisement because you haven't seen the rest of the story yet, but who did you end up going to?
On the CRM?
Yeah. Yep.
Drive Centric.
So you went through a process. You found them good people. They've been a good part of implementation. Final question, and if you can give us this in about 20 seconds, we got to jump to our next guest. What's your thoughts about Honda selling car insurance in dealership? We've seen a lot of different companies try.
Dude, can we please focus on making great, affordable cars and quit trying to be everything to everybody else? Dealers, their OEMs want to be website providers. They want to sell insurance. Can you just make great cars? That's all we want. Great cars.
Yeah. So who wins in this? The OEM, the customer, the dealer?
No, it's a colossal waste of time.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Mic drop.
Yeah. I just don't see it. Yeah.
All right. Dennis Gingrich, sales and finance leader at the Niello company with Tully Williams in the social media comments. Thanks for bringing it today, Dennis, and enjoying the show, sharing your perspective.
Good seeing you guys. A lot of fun.
All right, everybody, let's turn directly to and what a fun conversation. It's always a heck of a lot of fun to have Dennis and his passion. I love the new phrase he's coined. So, but let's go straight into who's supporting the show today. This episode of Daily Dealer Live is brought to you by OpenLane, the world's best online dealer marketplace for used cars. This August, OpenLane is spinning up an entire month of excitement with Dealer Fest 2025. The more you buy and sell, the bigger prizes you earn. Never used OpenLane before? New dealers can earn up to $2,500 in credits. Learn more at openlane.com/dealerfest. So thanks for supporting the show, OpenLane, and a lot of the content that we've got today. And let's go straight to our next guest with a ton of F&I experience. We've talked a lot about that leading up to today. Corporate Director of F&I Operations at Safford Brown Automotive Group, Jesse Hill. Jesse, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks a lot for having me. It's Sam Ely, I'm so passionate about what I do, but I think we've got all the passion for the show taken care of, right? So I can keep my language clean. I can keep calm.
Yes.
Let it rip.
Yes. As Colin Kubik said on the stream, he says Dennis spits fire, and there's no question he does that. So yes, you can. Yeah, hey, for those in our CDG audience, Daily Dealer Live audience that don't know you, Jesse, give us a little bit of background on you, who you are, what you do at the group.
Sure. So I've been in the car business about 16 years. Started like everyone else started, out of a necessity. Maybe that's not how everybody started, but started out of necessity, and was with the Browns Automotive Group for many years before they were acquired by Safford Automotive Group. So now we're 25 rooftops. Jim Graham is the owner of the auto group. They about 2020, they had me develop, and maybe we can touch on this a little bit, but they had me develop a virtual finance department for our group, which again, we can get into. Really kind of a cool concept, not just for people at home, but store to store. And because I was spending so much time in those stores doing so much running around, they made me the corporate director, and I've been doing that for 2 years, August 1. So it's been great to be at 40,000 feet. That's really what I've enjoyed.
So what does virtual F&I mean? I know there's some companies that have attempted that. I know JM&A, and don't kill me online if I'm wrong on this, but I think JM&A did something like that. They tried it. It feels like it didn't work great. What's your version of that?
So virtual finance COVID changed everything, and it made us open our eyes to so many different things. So being able to if I'm sitting at a dealership and I'm a performing finance manager, and another store sells not quite enough cars for 2 finance managers, and we want to be able to make sure that we can fit that schedule. I'm set up at my location, access, et cetera, to be able to call in via Zoom to that store who has set up the deal. They bring the customer in, we talk via Zoom, and we settle the deal for them. The store issues tags, store takes down payment. And what's interesting about it is, about 2 or 3 minutes into the conversation, it feels very, very normal. It feels just like a car deal. JM&A is actually trudging along with virtual finance and doing well with it, contrary to. So it's
good. I take that back. I have no basis for knowing. So you would know better than me. Right. I had just heard it anecdotally. So thank you for correcting me on that.
No, it feels funny. It sounds strange to finance managers. Are like, oh, there goes my job, right? But that's not it. And to be clear, I was actually having a conversation with Don Hall the other day, which I really enjoyed the segment the other day on with Tesla and otherwise. But it's really meant to facilitate more of a coverage type of, can we call people at home? Can we call them at work on the way to the airport? Yes, we can do all of that sort of thing, but we still want the customer coming into the store.
So give me an example of a store. So you're sitting at, what brands do you have?
So we have 25 rooftops. Again, we have CDJR. We have Toyota, Honda, Kia, VW, Mazda, Subaru, VAO. We have a used car outlet down in Amherst, Virginia. I'm going to get a lot of trouble. BMW.
So let's start there. You're at the corporate headquarters. Customer comes in, says, I want to buy a car at Toyota, and they get all the paperwork done. There's not a finance manager there. They call you up. They say, hey, you're going to get on. So you go online. There's some sort of a Zoom call. Is there someone there in the office with you that's kind of doing the clerical piece of it, or are you alone with the customer in that virtual scenario or setup?
Very good question. So document processor is what we call them, right? Nice. So yes, there needs to be someone who gets the systems and the boilers going, right?
Yeah.
But once we're online with technology that we have now, which is just great, once I'm talking to that customer via Zoom and there's an iPad in the room, I've got it handled and they could depart. But yes, that's an important piece, because if it's not set up right, we only have what we have, right? We can only see what we've been given by the other store. So.
What's the technology that drives your ability to deliver that experience?
Really not. I mean, listen,
Zoom
Darwin, is inexpensive.
Is it Darwin or is it?
So we're Reynolds Ignite.
Okay, very good.
And we were CDK for many years.
Okay.
With Browns, and then we were acquired. So we switched over to Reynolds Ignite, all 25 stores. So so Zoom. I mean, and it's inexpensive. It really, but I'll tell you, and this has to do with a lot of the other things that are constantly on my mind. The biggest piece of it that makes it work, just like anything else, is the buy-in, buy-in and the support.
Yeah. At all levels, right?
At all levels. That's right.
Yeah. Go ahead,
Jesse. I have some questions here, and I want to dive deeper because I'm curious actually about the adoption. Who's going to be doing, the signing? Is it you, or are there other people? Or are they taking them as turns? But before we do, Sam, we forgot our signature. How's business today in July of 2025 in your rooftops?
Fair.
So I was waiting for that. I prepped for days, but no. So
good. Dennis had me so fired up I completely forgot that one. Good. Hopefully, I'm sure it's great.
Business is good. Okay, I'm a little obviously I'm going to be biased to our group, but we have a really good processes and really good people in place. The market is a little funny, as we all know. Volume is a little funny, as we all know. People are a little hesitant, as Dave was talking about, are people hesitant to leave their house to go buy cars. So we're feeling some of that, but I think that, with sticking to those tried and true processes, which I'm sure we'll talk about, business is good. It's good for Safford Automotive Group.
But it's also finding new things. Like, I thought it's really fascinating. Someone like Dennis is talking about finding a CRM that texts and calls from the same number. I mean, these are things no one thought about a few years ago, right? And to me, when we have these discussions, like Sam had this fire roundtable on Monday about all of the shortcomings of dealers, which we all know is nonsense. The dealers can and will continue to do an incredible job. They need to be looking at these things to increase the customer experience. So this ties back into, what you're doing, this virtual delivery system. How do you run that? How do you get the people to buy in, the finance managers? How do you treat them and compensate them for doing these extra turns?
Yes, and so and that's a really good question, and that kind of leads into where we've been able to take virtual finance, which is the store has to want it. The general manager has to see the benefit and the value of wanting it, because if he doesn't, then the deal's not going to get set up properly. Finance managers are going to mess with the rotation. So there's all of those pieces that are in there.
How do you get them to want it? How do you get people to ask for that? Because it's a replacement of a job, right? That most people aren't going to say, "Hey, kick me out. I'll go back to selling cars or become a paperwork clerk."
So yes and no. The good news is, so far, is it's been seen as help, as an extra finance manager, one office down, and that's where that's where we want to keep it. Now, of course, the benefit is that you don't have to have them literally in the next office, right? So they can be in another location or remote location. But a point I want to make is virtual finance is certainly a tool that we have at our fingertips, and I believe that it is a good tool. And what it has done, it's helped us to become more comfortable with the reality of enhancing customer experience from a distance. If someone wants to, again, call from the hotel or call from home or what have you. But again, I think that I want to be really clear about this. I believe customers want to come into the store. I'm always going to, I'm very passionate about that. And so therefore, in whichever way we can make that experience the most comfortable, that's what I want to do. And so the virtual finance is just a piece and just a tool of being able to facilitate that.
What percentage of those transactions are virtual then?
10%.
So it's a small percent. Okay.
It is. It's a small percent, and it's certainly not our main source of doing business. Our main source of doing business is people coming in the store. And that is why it's so important that we focus so much on our process. And I think that, as I was thinking about coming on today, our two big concerns are what I hear the most on your podcast, which, by the way, I absolutely love the 20 group, the online 20 group. So there's my plug for the
love it.
group.
Thank you.
Used car acquisition, customer experience. Used car acquisition, customer experience, right? And where do we find more used cars? It's just something on everybody's mind. And then, of course, customer experience. And so what I do as a director for 25 stores, the most important thing to me is that our finance managers see the benefit of being out of their office. Okay. And all the way up to the point where they're actually shaking hands with holding the door open to the dealership. And the reason why I say that is a lot of the complaint is speed and experience, right? It's being passed from person to person. I kind of equate it to going to the gym. And in your work, you just finished working out. You're on your way to go take a shower, go in the sun, and somebody grabs you and says, "Oh no, let's go do your next workout." It's painful. It's not fun. And so if we have the finance manager who's going to be that last piece of that process in the beginning of that process, there's familiarity. There's a face to remember. There's some, they see you moving around and interacting with the sales floor and the sales tower and otherwise. This is just really important, I think, and I think we've really got to focus on it.
Jesse, I couldn't agree with you more. And in fact, we do a lot of development groups with finance managers. We try to grow our finance managers from other roles within the Ziegler Auto Group, sales, and even fixed ops service writers and elsewhere.
Absolutely.
And a common phrase that I'll say is finance is one of the toughest jobs in the store because you need to exert leadership without the ability to sign a paycheck or hire and fire. Like, you've got to get people bought into the vision that is finance and work well and bring the store together rather than fragment it and separate it. And getting out there and opening doors and helping and doing those things all contribute to that. The thing that drives me nuts, and I'll stop meetings, is if somebody starts saying, hey, this was all me. You know, my service contract penetration, my gap pen, my PVR, it's all me. It's not. In finance, it's a team collaboration all the way around, and it's a dance. And that's what makes the virtual finance element so fascinating, because I think it does help it enhance that in special situations. But ultimately, there is something about having a person sit down with another person and have that human-human face-to-face interaction that would be tough to fully eliminate, I think, or replace.
I think you
right?
probably have a certain customer or a certain demographic that is probably more comfortable sitting in front of a Zoom screen at this point. I'm curious, how do your deals, these remote deals, stack up against your regular deals? Are you seeing the same kind of products per deal or PVR?
So what we've been able to evaluate as far as the deals that we've done now, since we've converted over to Reynolds Ignite, we've done a lot less virtual deals in all transparency, just because it's a different system, but usable just the same. $300 to $500 a copy.
Higher.
Which is really interesting.
That's fascinating. What do you attribute that to?
So we pick from top performers in the group, right? Who are assisting in these virtual settlements. I think that the ease of the transaction, I think it's fun. And I think the customers see it as fun. And it makes us, there's something in there. There's something to be said about, we're a JM&A group, right? We work directly with JM&A. And so we've had all of the training and which everybody has, right? Menu and interview and all that sort of thing. And amidst all of that minutia and all of those word tracks and all of that robotic nature of what we train, and we do train our people to do that. We all do. We all train our people to follow this process, this process, this process, and this process.
Yeah.
I think the important part of it is to remember that if you don't have that connection with the customer, if you don't have rapport with the customer, the famous Tony Robbins quote, if there are two people and there's rapport, the person who's most certain will always influence the other person. If there isn't rapport, you're speaking different languages.
Yeah.
So my goal has been to help finance managers, and it's interesting that you use the word the dance, because that's exactly what being in the finance office is. You're literally changing from moment to moment to be adaptable. And I think the reason why I brought up used car acquisition being the other big point is because I think that, our service drive is, in my mind, is if not the greatest source of used vehicles, is the greatest source of used vehicles. But hey, thanks, Mr. and Mrs. Customer. So would you like to speak to one of our salespeople about the value of your trade? No, I just had my car worked on and paid. I don't want to.
Yeah.
So again, how do we make that the dance, right?
Yeah.
How do we make that a more comfortable scenario, right? So where the customer, it's not a yes, no, it's, oh my goodness, I hadn't thought about that, right? So again, it's all goes into the same thing, creating that experience for the customer where they feel welcome and heard. And I think that's where we're going to be able to do great. And that's where I believe we have to do great, because of direct sale discussions and so forth and so on. Customers, I believe, in my mind, it's all on us. It's all on us as dealers to make it fun, to make it a great experience where they want to come back. So we have got to get really good. And I think a lot of us are, but I think we have some hills to climb.
When you look at automotive generally, what do you think is the biggest gap? Because I agree with you. I think, if it just becomes about the price of the car and getting somebody in and out, it's a commodity, it's a transaction. It's not an experience. If we can make it an experience, we win. What do you think is the biggest gap between transactional and experience in today's market?
Our focus on what our end goal is. What is it that Robin Williams said in the movie Patch Adams. If you treat the disease, you win, lose. If you treat the person, you win.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Same thing with the deal versus the customer. Are we working a deal? Are we talking about a deal? Are we funding
Oh,
a
I
deal?
love this. Yes.
Or are we
That's
working with a customer? Are we focused on the customer's experience? You know, I have our salespeople do delivery, tech and safety and otherwise while they're waiting for settlement. Now, why would I do that? Well, that makes such a sense, right? They get to see their 14-inch screen and everything else. So we have to be focused on the customer, not the deal. And of course, with salespeople, we want them focused on the car, not the deal. But COVID made it so simple that as we came out of COVID, those that were new never learned, and those that were veterans in the business got rusty and they forgot.
Yeah.
We're back to work. We're back to work. And we have to remember that our focus must be on the customer experience and the customer, not the deal. They are very different things.
I just want to highlight one thing that you said in there is that the way we speak and the words we use matter so much in our business.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And there's the old word set that was used, deal, and even, you know, PVR and closing rate and all that stuff. Even though they're understood well in the industry, it doesn't paint the most positive picture for a customer experience. Using the words that create that experience matter. And it not only does it change the experience on the customer end, but it changes the culture in a dealership. And it's a big difference maker. So you hire a lot of finance managers in your group. What's your best source for great finance managers that are able to deliver on that? Be great leaders, lead without authority, and really provide that great customer experience and team experience, because the customers are other members of the team.
Absolutely. Our best source are our salespeople. Finding engaged, active, good customer service based, salespeople that see and kind of feel our flow and our vision already. That is our best source. Now, is that where I'm able to get finance managers from all the time? It's not. And there are a lot of finance managers out there that are looking for work. And it's tough. It's a tough thing right now because good finance managers, as I always say, are working. They're busy.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. You don't want to, somebody who's out of work right now is not your best potential candidate unless you're willing to retrain bad habits or there's a compelling narrative or story behind it. So, that's fascinating. I want to take you to the news that we talked about a little bit today, which was Honda and their venture to go into insurance. Have you guys played with that insurance game, and what's your take on offering insurance as part of the F&I process?
We haven't, and I know that there's lots of entities, and I think even JM&A is always growing and developing, right? So there's lots of entities, those that we have relationships and those we don't, that are venturing into these. Look, I can't necessarily say that it's the wrong thing to do. And the reason why I say that is because we've got work to do on what we've already got. And so that could be an argument and say, you get your plates full, Jesse. We don't need to be pulling it. And so from that perspective, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, but I will say that most dealers, including the dealers in our auto group, need fine tuning, and not all of them. We have some extraordinary stores in our group that with great performance. Okay. But for the most part, it's eye contact, 2 ears and 1 mouth, pulling the chair out, shaking a hand. I'll take that plate and put it on the vehicle. What are you doing? What key do you need?
I love your attention to those small details that create that awesome experience.
When salespeople see you do that, that's when your salesperson's walking to you. For those of us that have done finance before, that's when they come to you and they say, "Are you here tonight? Are you here tonight at 5? Are you here tonight at 6? I've got a customer coming in." That is what you want. That's where the magic happens in.
And that, in fact, is leadership. That is true leadership in that finance role. So what are you working on now? Where do you see the biggest opportunity July of 2025 in the next 30, 60, 90 days as it relates to F&I?
I see us in a great place and time of opportunity, with tariffs and all of that mess. To me, it's just very cyclical, and there's always going to be something that's a struggle, or always something that changes the ballgame a little bit. But again, with the outlook that with the greatest challenges come the greatest lessons, come the greatest learning. I don't have a fear of that. So I think that with that being said, with all of the changes of the market and so forth and so on, I think my greatest challenge right now and my greatest hope is for that understanding to really find its way down, and all the way down to our lot porter.
Yeah.
Is that we don't sell cars. We do sell cars, cars and hours, right? That's what we sell. But we've got to remember that there is something separating that. And without that in the middle, we don't have anything. We may be great salespeople. You think about the old school ways of finance. You'd have someone come in, and then you'd have another come in, and then you'd have another come in. Years ago, and when I first started in finance, when I ordered Chinese food for lunch all the time, right? I opened up the fortune cookie and I stuck it on my monitor. I left it there for 10 years. Honesty and integrity will bring you fortune.
Yeah, true.
And that stuck with me. We've got good and bad finance managers out there, and we always will, because people are people. But I have found in my experience that honesty, integrity, being straightforward, building that great rapport, that trumps ability and more than I could quantify. I mean, there is when a customer feels like when I'm training my finance managers, once a month I do a finance 101. I call it finance 101. I think Coons calls it boot camp. The finance 101 is for underperforming finance managers. We sit in a circle. There's no head, there's no foot. We sit in a circle and we talk about what's working and what isn't. So it's not a shame session, right?
Yeah.
What's working and what isn't. And I think that as we discuss these things to try to figure out, how we're going to move forward, that's going to be. And so I would say that's probably the biggest driver to me, is to help people understand that this is a people business, and we're never going to get past that. Ever.
Yeah. Well, Jesse Hill, Corporate Director, F&I Operations at Safford Brown Automotive Group. We appreciate having you on the show today, sharing your perspectives and your passion, your intentionality for this F&I world that we're all involved in. So thanks for being on the show, and go Cougs. We share an alma mater. So good to have you on the show. Thanks for being there.
Thank you very much.
Great conversation. One of the online comments we got had to do with, will AI replace F&I? And here's, I would give the answer quickly as we wrap here. You see guys like Jesse out doing the finance role and being super intentional with their teams in F&I, from the words you use and the type of experience you deliver. Mm-hmm. That is the best of automotive. And I wish we could highlight that to everybody nationwide. It's what we seek to do in our auto group. And obviously he's being incredibly intentional doing it in his. Isn't that awesome, Yuli?
Yeah. How you do anything is how you do everything. So that attention to detail matters. Interestingly enough, my fortune cookie thing on my monitor for 7 years said nobody works harder.
Okay, that's true. I like that. By the way, how did I miss out? Where's my fortune cookie? Angel OKRC says F&I is the backbone for the dealership. And by the way, to our audience, all of you, incredible comments today. We weren't able to bring them all in, but if you go back to the different platforms, you can see it. Great comments today. Great show. Love the passion. Love the energy, including a lot of conversations around tariffs and whatnot. We appreciate everybody for being here on today's show. Thanks for watching the Daily Dealer Live, where we break down the biggest moves in the car business as they happen. Don't forget, we're here live every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, which means we'll be back this Monday. So if this is your world, hit like, subscribe, turn on those notifications so you never miss a beat. And we will see you next episode. Thanks, everybody.
We'll see you guys.